Hello and welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Drew and I am back with another video about a book that I recently read called After the Ivory Tower Falls: How College Broke the American Dream and Blew Up Our Politics, and How to Fix It by Will Bunch. And this book actually took me by surprise because it's not an education book per se, but I would put it more in the category of sociology and politics. And to be fair, Will Bunch is a political columnist, so there is a lot of that coming through the book. And one other thing I would tell you is if you are going to pick this up as a political columnist, Will Bunch has a certain leaning politically, and he makes that very clear in his writings and how he approaches this topic of higher education in America. So just be forewarned, you may love it or you may hate it, but it is very clear throughout every chapter. And it's interesting because what Will Bunch does is he lays out the history of higher education in America and really kind of starts with the GI Bill. That's really the main starting point, and how that exploded enrollments and how that created a societal reaction, which led to increases in tuition. And also you had movements in the 60s and 70s that led to changes in cultures of college campuses. And then through it to today, where now college is too expensive and not everyone has access to college. And there was one particular section, or rather throughout the book, what I appreciated is Will Bunch actually created sort of four categories of people in their relation to higher education. And it was those who don't have access to higher education and are just kind of falling off the map or falling off the radar, so to speak. And then you have on the opposite end those who did have access. Those are sort of the baby boomers and the Gen Xers who did go to college and don't really understand what all the fuss is about because everything worked out for them for the most part. And then you have those who were told that you don't need a college degree and you can go and get a blue-collar job and make a very healthy living for yourself. However, with technology changing, that narrative is kind of shifting and they're sort of getting stuck in that. And then you also have the students, sort of the Gen Z, the millennials, and Gen Y, where they are going to college, but they are saddled with debt that is insurmountable. And so with each one of those categories, the author will kind of sit down with one person representing that group and really talk about their life story and their beliefs. And so it was really good from a sociological perspective. However, when I read the book, it didn't quite sit well with me, and I couldn't quite place my finger on it because it kept being emphasized more or less that whether or not you went to college kind of dictated how you viewed the world, and ultimately, in Will Bunch's perspective, how you voted. And this is where that political commentary comes into play. And I didn't quite agree with that, and I couldn't quite place my finger on it because there were a lot of reasons that backed that up, but it just didn't quite make sense. And the more I thought with it and the more I sat with it, it just dawned on me. If you were to take in this argument that your level of college or your college degree or whether or not you went to college determined how you voted and how you made decisions and interpreted the world around you, if you took college and substituted that with education, then I think you've nailed it. Now we've created a discussion that makes much more sense to me. Because I think as a society, what's missing from this book is we're messing this up as society. I don't necessarily think it's higher education's fault. It's how we've interpreted higher education. Because yes, it is unaffordable at this point. And Will Bunch says we need to make college a public good again, and we do need to make it more affordable. And one of his solutions is to make a mandatory gap year for 18-year-olds. And in that year, you're doing some sort of public service. And I don't know if that's the best approach, because we sit here and we say, you need to go to college. And so we go to college and we get a degree, but then we go into the workforce and they say, that's not the degree we're looking for, or you don't have the right experience. And now we can't be employed. But we went to college because that's what we were told to do, and now we can't be employed. Conversely, we are limited if we don't go to college, and we can get some jobs, but then it also takes a certain skill set, especially with technology. So I think with the overall argument in terms of skills, because we have micro credentialing, we have certificates, and we have all these little skill building assets and resources to make ourselves employable and marketable, so we can go that route. But then again, our hiring practices don't always reflect that. And that's where we go back to, well, you need a degree in order to be employable. And so that's where things get really, really misconstrued. And I think, there are a few other books that I've covered. I think one was, Is College Worth It? Or What's the Point of College? I think those may have been two separate books. I think those make a stronger argument for education or higher education and what the problems are, because you're not going to education. When we talk about making it a public good, it feels like we've turned it into this product, and I'm purchasing this product, and this is my ticket to employability. And I think that perpetuates the problem, because the true point of higher education is to grow as an individual. And Will Bunch does talk about this, where you would think if you go to college, you're going to be more open-minded and tolerant of other ideas. And it's sort of, that's the gist of how you view the world, which then leads into, if you go to college, you're going to think and vote and behave a certain way. But I don't agree with that. I think you can go to college and you can think anywhere on a wide spectrum regarding a lot of topics. And I think the same can apply if you don't go to college. And that's where I sit with education is what matters. Because if you're educated, then you know how to think critically. Then you know how to interpret the world around you, and then you know how to navigate life decisions. I think this book made it a little too black and white of either you're educated or not, and that is based solely on if you went to college. And I think the discussion is much deeper than that. The mandatory year of service, I think that was meant to stir up sort of unity and this belief in the greater good, and we are a larger community as a country. And I think that's headed in the right direction. I don't necessarily know if that solves the social problem. I think we really need to look at the possibility of, yes, you can go to college and you don't have to go to college, but you could still be employable. But that doesn't address how people think or how they interpret information. And that's where it got caught up in how people were interpreting certain controversial topics in the political world and how that was contingent upon their formal education. And that's the part I didn't like, because I think that was too general and it didn't encompass higher education as a whole. So the book I learned something from the book. It was a tough read. Like I said, it was very political, too political for me. So I'm not sure. I'm still thinking about it. I'm still thinking about a lot of these things. And that's, I'm having these epiphanies, much like substituting college for education in discussing this problem and potential solutions. So if you have read it, what do you think? Will you let me know? And maybe did I miss the mark? Am I looking at one perspective too much? So let me know in the comments and go check it out. And if you like this video, make sure you hit like. And if you want to see more book reviews, definitely hit subscribe. And also please let me know if there are books that I need to read that I haven't yet covered. And with that, as always, I appreciate it, and I will catch you in the next one.